Why should anybody list their home in winter? That is our topic today. Technically, 5 reasons why you should list your home in winter. And we're doing something new today. We are actually bringing our whole group of listing agents onto this call. So we have, you guys just wave. I'll bring you up when you're doing your talking. So we have, I see Angelica Ferguson, Daniel Romero, Katie Porte, and Chelsea McGowan. Those are all listing agents on our team, the Upstate Curious team of Keller Williams Realty, Hudson Valley North. And I'm Megan Brenn-White. I'm an associate broker and the head of the team. So, this is something that I feel like comes up every year. And we wanted to kind of cover why it's always kind of a good idea to list in winter, but also a couple of things that are specific to this year, why it might be a good idea to list now. And as always, we're super happy to have anybody ask questions, anything else. Just feel free to chime in there in the chat. So if you have any questions, just write them in chat. Have any thoughts, anything else, that would be great. And we can go through this topic and then we can certainly jump on some other topics also at the end of the meeting. So, all right. Basically, we talked amongst ourselves. So the way our team works is we have a listing side and a buyer side. So we have a group of agents, about 8 of them, that work only with buyers. We have this group of agents that primarily work only with sellers to market their homes. We all, as a team, discuss a fair amount together, and both in meetings and on Slack channels, and we try and share as much information as possible so that we all are keeping as up to date as possible on what's happening with the market from a sort of qualitative perspective, in addition to what we're saying with the numbers coming out from the different multiple listing services. And as always, I should say that we cover a big area. We cover, around 8 counties, really focusing, I would say, on Ulster, Dutchess, Sullivan, Columbia, Greene. I don't know where to stop the focus, but it's pretty much anywhere where there would be people looking primarily for either for second homes or people from New York City who are transitioning to full-time or part-time life upstate. So that is the context that we live in. So when we're talking about, that's not the only listings that we work with, but that is the focus of the listings that we work with. And I guess if I could ask one of you guys want someone from the listing team to just type into the chat the seller's questionnaire. So if anybody is curious about starting the conversation with these guys or with our team about I want to start to sell my house, then you just click on this. You can also go to our website, upstatecurious.com. It's right there under the seller section. So I'll just say that as well. So I think we can kick it off. Actually, Chelsea, you are our first person here.
Yes.
Want to talk about the reason number 1?
So reason number 1 in our 5 reasons to list in the winter is competition. Obviously, we're in a very competitive market. We've been here for a while. There is a lot of demand, not a lot of supply. But in the winter specifically, we see this really amplified. There's even less homes on the market. There's still very hungry buyers that want to scoop up a piece of real estate. So this can be an even more advantageous time for you to sell because there's less competition with other properties, plenty of buyers out there, thus hopefully meaning that you get a ton of offers and the price goes up and up and up. So competition is less, and hopefully that yields you a higher accepted offer.
Okay, awesome. I'm going to, I was trying to keep you there, Chelsea. Add pin. I don't even know if pins or spotlights what they're doing, but hopefully you can see both of us now. What we've seen, I would say, in this year is that, I mean, we had a mastermind with the top 20% of agents and teams in our office, and people were talking about this January feeling like the height of COVID, like the absolute height of COVID. So we are seeing wild amounts of offers, of showing requests, of, again, we used to say it was 19% above ask if we got a multiple offer. We should look at that number again. That was the average on our team. But like Stevers, Chelsea, do you remember how many showings we had?
Yeah, so we had 60 showings on Stevers and we had 20 offers on that house.
And
So.
that one went also 20% above ask, more?
I believe that one went more than 20% over.
Yeah. So we're seeing this. So we're seeing it from both sides. I mean, we had a house also in Ellenville, which was Abramowitz, which was, that one was more surprising. The one in Stevers was very super cutesy, like very nicely styled, right outside of Hudson. Ellenville is not as hot of a market. This house was nicely done, but a little bit more basic, it was vacant, wasn't staged at all. We did a little virtual staging. There was a pool, but that house also got, I think Danny worked on that one, but I think that was 2 or 3 offers in the end. Something like that.
Yeah. It was 3 offers.
Yeah. So even for something that like was, kind of pushing the price for that area, still went into multiple offers in the first weekend. So less competition right now in particular, there is nothing, there is so little on the market and there are so many hungry buyers. So yeah, I think that's one hell of a reason to list now, as opposed to spring when we're going to be like flooded with all the good houses, which we're also all excited about, from the buyer's agent perspective for sure. All right. Anyone have any questions, comments? Chelsea, for competition. C is for competition. Can't do it. All right, then we'll go to, thanks, Chelsea. We'll go to number 2, which is Katie Porte. I'm adding a pin. Hopefully you guys can see Katie.
So I'm going to talk about how buyers that are coming out in the winter are more serious buyers. And right now I feel like every buyer we see is a serious buyer. Everybody is like really ready to get out there and buy a house, but anybody who's making a trek into 10-degree Catskills with unpredictable weather and icy driveways, they're ready to see houses and make offers. So definitely the people that are coming out are, not just looking, not just like at an Airbnb and saw a cute open house and decided to pop in. They're like making the trip very deliberately, hoping to buy that house. So lots of buyers and they are all serious.
And I think, we were talking about the other thing that like how, I think this was you, unless this was meant to be another point, but also the buyers who are buying now are the ones who are doing the math correctly to make sure that they can be in their home by summer.
Yeah, they're thinking, okay, we'll close by March, April, and then you get to enjoy your home in the best months of the year up here.
And maybe even do a little bit of work beforehand if you can find a contractor, so I think that's another reason why the people who, I think this would be extra true for people who are looking at like lake houses, anything like that. I think this is exactly the right time to be listing them because those guys really want to be there.
Or a house with a pool too.
Or a house with a pool, 100%.
We've had great success with our lake house and pool house this winter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is also another one. Multiple offers had been on the market before. It had a couple things happen with it. And I think this is, there is a difference. The serious buyer thing, I think, is something that everybody has said about this, about this time of year always. But I think that the fact that people know that this market is still such a strong seller's market, I think that also, it's like a double whammy, where it kind of like weeded out a lot of the people who are just sort of looking or like hopeful that like, I'm going to see a house for $450 that just went on the market. Maybe I can get it for $395. Like, I think those people might've been scared off. out of this market. So it's like kind of a double whammy right now. And, winter of 2022 of like really having the people who are coming being people who want to get home now for whatever reason,
There also,
so.
well, probably there's a lot of buyers left over from the fall who didn't get a house then, right? Because maybe they were still feeling things out or learning what the market was like, and now they're like resolved to get a house.
Yeah.
And have lost out on other multiple offer situations and are going to be making crazy offers to get these houses.
Yeah.
The other thing is it's bonus time. A lot of buyers out there flush with cash right now.
Oh, we didn't even think about that point, but that's true, particularly in the luxury, even at anything from like 500 and above, or at anything, any price point, actually. You have tons of people in certain industries that are very high earners who get bonuses around this time of the year, who all of a sudden can afford to buy things in cash. And we see people timing that. We absolutely see people timing when they search around when they're going to get their bonuses.
Yep.
So, all right, awesome. Thank you, Katie. Serious buyers. Yay, we like them. Okay. Number 3. Oh, that's me, actually. I'm number 3. So mine is a point that is like specifically about, again, like winter of 2022, which is where we are, which is that everybody expects interest rates to rise. And that is like a constant theme in the news everywhere. So it's like the scarcity of housing, the fact that no one is projecting nationwide that prices will go down, and everybody is projecting that interest rates will rise, and they already have risen. I mean, they already are closer to 3.5 than like the upper 2s, how they, were last year. I think that is getting a lot of people who were, waiting to see what's going to happen. Maybe after COVID, everyone's going to sell their house and leave. It's just like that's not happening. So I think that there's a lot of national trends that would also give you a good reason to list now, because you do have people, this gets back to the serious buyers. You have a lot of folks right now who believe that the prices are going to be higher in 6 months, who are willing to pay now for something that they really love. Now, as a seller, if the interest rates go up, that might put that might dampen prices. The other thing that, is happening is Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, that there's government rules that are changing about second home mortgages that will make second home mortgages cost roughly the same as investment properties. Previously, they cost the same as primary homes. If that happens, that will impact all of our buyers and their ability to buy things. It's not just how much they want to spend, but also their debt to income ratio that could actually limit things. That could actually make prices go down a little bit, maybe not significantly. Interest rates, even with that, will still be at like historical, lows. The other thing is short-term rental restrictions, which are really increasing all over the place. So you might have people who are investors who are selling short-term rentals, or people who thought they could afford X with some short-term rental income and now feel more comfortable not banking on that. So there are buyers who think the prices are going to increase, and there's indications that will probably happen, but there are reasons why in our area it might, specifically with the houses that would be potential full or part-time short-term rentals, they could actually decrease a bit because of the second home buyer stuff and the short-term rental restrictions, or even uncertainty around short-term rental restrictions. Does anyone have anything else to add to that? No. Well, then I think, Danny, you're number 4.
Yay, and I'm not on mute.
No, you're not.
Mama needs her medicine for her throat. Reason number 4. So yes, it is generally true 100% that it will be easier for buyers viewing a home in winter to imagine what that home and the property and the land and the neighbors and the views and everything could be like in summer, as opposed to the opposite scenario, right? So, I mean, there's a lot of great things about listing a home in the wintertime. You know, the home has the opportunity to show off how cozy it is. And if you have a fireplace, we'll get it going for the showings and really like sell the ambiance. Plus, there's great winter light. Winter light is very different from summer light. The sun is lower in the sky. Depending on how your house is oriented on the property, you're going to get that sunlight really pouring in. So you're going to, you know, really get a sense for what that winter light is. Views, of course. Our trees, most of our trees don't have leaves. So you will be able to see, you know, if there's anything that's sort of like partially hidden by the trees the rest of the year, you'll be able to really get a sense of what those views are behind that. I mean, buyers just, they can, it's more easy to picture how pretty it'll be in the summer and in the fall, obviously. But it's kind of hard to sort of like picture the opposite. Like if you're seeing it really beautiful and green, what's it really going to look like in wintertime? That's a harder thing to imagine. And, you know, also in summertime with all the leaves, you may see a little bit of that neighbor. You may see a little bit of this or that. Maybe there's some negative things and you have to wonder, what's that going to look like in wintertime? You don't know, but seeing it in winter, you know, it can only get better throughout the rest of the year. I think Katie brought up, or was during Katie's segment, a good point about winter being an ideal time to buy because it means that buyers will be closing in time to really enjoy the house in the spring and in the summer. But it's really beneficial to both sides. As a seller, it's always a really nice thing to have, you know, it's a process. Some sellers live in the home. It's not easy to have a bunch of people coming through your house for showings and all of that. And so for some sellers, it's great to have that whole process done before the spring, before the summer, so you can move on to vacations or travel or relaxing, or, you know, you're not worried about your house selling when you could be out doing some of that stuff. And for short-term rentals as well, you know, sometimes we advise sellers to really think about maybe canceling some of their Airbnb guests, for example. You know, we generally want at the very least 2 good weeks of all access to the home. Let's say you get an accepted offer the first week, you know that inspection's going to be happening the second week, most likely the second weekend. You want to be able to have those inspectors, those appraisers, be able to come to the house freely without having any scheduling issues, because we don't want to delay anything in the process, especially, I mean, still, this was very true a year ago, but now it's still very true that it's hard to schedule inspectors and appraisals and everything delays the process. So it's much easier to cancel a winter Airbnb guest than somebody who's coming in, say, July or August in peak season. Perhaps you're charging even more per night in July and August. So it's just an easier pill to swallow, I think, to cancel those in the wintertime. But I mean, those are all really, really great reasons from a seller perspective and a little bit from a buyer perspective on why wintertime is really the best time. Not the best time, but a great time.
I mean, okay, so, you know, that made me think of one other reason that we didn't think of before, which is photography. Yep. If I look outside right now, we could take beautiful, stunning winter photos all day long. Like we could get things, you know, everything is going to look amazing. Once we start to list the homes in that we're getting ready for spring, we're dealing with mud. It's like literally the ugliest season of the year. There are no leaves, there is no beautiful white snow, and there is mud. And even if there was a freak snowstorm, you don't want it to look like winter if you're listing something in April, and you can't even with some of the multiple listing services. So I feel like right now with our photographer, Phil, we're like, shoot whatever you can right now that we're going to list in the next 2 months, because these kind of conditions are phenomenal. March.
Yeah. Gets a little muddy. Everything now looks pretty magical, sort of like winter wonderland. It's really beautiful. I mean, winter up here is really beautiful. The snow stays white, y'all. This ain't the city. The snow stays white.
It's true. It's true. Okay, awesome.
So about the timing.
Yeah.
Here. So if you're selling in the winter and you need to buy something, that means you're going to sell and you're going to close, and then you get to buy in peak spring, summer, and close in case you need to like get somewhere, like move into a new school district in time for school to start. Selling in the winter means you can do all of that and then start school in September and be in a new house.
I love that. That's actually another good point. Awesome. Well, that's a good segue because Angelica is next. So thank you, Danny. We're all still here, but okay, how do I replace pin? Just going to keep talking my way through this the whole time. Okay. Angelica, reason number 5.
My last segment is about the timing and availability of wanting to do little upgrades or fixes to your house. It's actually awesome to do those things in the winter because contractors are more available. Once you hit spring, summer, they are out there doing the big renovations, the big projects that involve a lot of exterior work, like new construction, doing additions, and they're going to be tied up for months doing these big projects. But in the winter, all the contractors are kind of looking for these smaller interior projects to work on because that's all you can do. And you don't have to worry about the weather or anything like that. So you can do a bathroom renovation. And depending on the size of your bathroom, that could be done in a week or two if you have all the materials on site. So it's definitely a great time to be doing those little things, or switching out light fixtures or doing interior paint. Like those are all things that happen really quickly. And that even if you only have like 3 days, a contractor might be like, well, I'm still waiting for a delivery on this other project. I can hop over to your place and knock this out in 3 or 4 days if it's like a small manageable thing. So the key is just to be flexible with like your availability and being like, hey, you can come anytime this month to do this project that I have. And then, a lot of contractors will be able to squeeze you in between other things. Like they might be waiting for subs on other projects and they can just squeeze your little upgrades in.
I think that's, oh, sorry. I removed your pin, but it still is it speaker view now? Is anybody like seeing, are you seeing me? Or are you seeing Angelica? Okay. I just see you, Angelica. So this is like why I never know what is happening. Sometimes I feel like, my mom or something looking at one of these things, but I think that's, and I will say that we will absolutely help you find contractors like for any time when we're listing your house. If one of the big points of a listing appointment is always to go over like, here are some quick fixes. And this is what sometimes, always you're weighing things up, right? So like, let's say your house would look amazing with a paint job that you can't do in the middle of winter. But it might be better still because of all the other reasons we mentioned to sell the house in winter and maybe give a credit for paint, for example. There's all kind of things that we think about when we're advising sellers on when to actually jump in and sell their homes. So, I guess does anybody out there have any questions, or does anybody on the listing team have any other comments, thoughts? I think this is like, I feel like the more that we spoke amongst ourselves, the more convinced we were that this is great. Well, maybe what I will say is that, if somebody decides to list with us, we can usually get that up within a week. So that's important to know, is that like, if you are, if you fill out that questionnaire or call us or write info@upstatecurious.com, reach out to us in any way, we can move pretty quickly because we have a photographer on staff, because we have listing coordinator and transaction coordinator, multiple listing agents. You'd be working with one of them or maybe 2 of them, and a marketing, like we have a bunch of people on our team who chip in to get this stuff live. So we can do a very high quality listing that's written well, that has a really well thought out strategy behind it, that has amazing photography, pretty darn quickly. So we might even in winter be able to do that with getting a couple of those fixes. Like maybe, like Angelica said, something like a light fixture is one of the most impactful things you can do. Like if you have an ugly old brown and brass like fan light, that's the thing where like you just change that and the whole room changes really. So I would say that there's
hearing things like, I see all the time people have old water damage and they haven't repaired it. And then that sets off red flags for buyers who are like, well, what else is wrong with this house? Or why didn't they fix that? Or is that active? Or do I need to be worried about that? And then they start worrying about everything else that could be wrong with the house when it was like a leak that you didn't fix from 3 years ago, right? Like you fixed the source of the leak and repaired the roof or whatever, if it didn't repair the drywall. So like those little things can make a huge difference.
That's an amazing example, because I mean, I think that we see that literally all the time where you ask people like, what is this? And they know exactly what it is. They're like, oh, that was because and no, we just never got around to fixing the sheetrock. And we are never ever going to tell a seller to hide things that are actual problems. Obviously, please God, don't do that. But most good inspectors are going to have moisture meters anyway. So they're going to look at that stain. They're going to point their little moisture meter at it and go, this is not a problem. It's not an active leak. And the buyer's dad's going to go, is it? And then the deal gets weird.
Or they're not even going to submit an offer because they think that like the house hasn't been taken care of.
Thank you. That's totally true. They will just be like, this equals bad. Because some of the stuff that doesn't bother you after time, which is almost everything for most people, you just stop noticing it, and then, but other people do notice it when you come. And our job, these guys' jobs as listing agents, is to go into your house with the eyes of buyers and say, and like literally look at anything that could be a problem. It's the same reason why we look at, we will call ahead and see, are there any problems that's going to come up with how many bedrooms or bathrooms you have listed with the county? Are there any like building permit problems you're going to have? We get ahead of all, are there short-term rental regulations coming up in your town? Is there anything we know about that? We get ahead of all of that stuff so that we know the full picture, so that we don't have people surprising us, or at least as little as possible, while we're trying to sell the home, or worse, pulling out of the deal before they go to contract because they found out something. So yeah, so I would say that you can either, if anyone, again, if you're interested in listing, I don't know that you actually see the chat if this is the recording, which will be sent to a lot of people. So just go to upstatecurious.com. In the seller section, you can see a link to the questionnaire, or you can write to info@upstatecurious.com if you want to get in touch with the listing team. Also, if you know anybody out there who might be thinking of listing, please tell them to contact us. Because there is just the inventory is so low right now, and they are going to knock it out of the park. And we do not give BS pricing. We give very realistic pricing, and talk about like, we would list it at this, we think it might go to this. Like, we will talk you through all of the options. So we're not going to say like, your house is going to get $1 million and then it like sits on the market forever. That doesn't help you, doesn't help us, don't help no one. So yeah, always happy to have a conversation. So ironically, with 4 other people talking, we're done in half an hour, versus when it's me alone and I'm usually at like an hour and 15 minutes. So Danny, look at the efficiency of this team. So I guess that's it. I guess we're done. And thank you all for being here. Thank you, lovely listing team folks, for sharing all your thoughts and ideas. And hopefully we'll be listing we are going to be listing a ton of good houses in the next few weeks, but hopefully we'll be listing a few more now. Bye.